from all over Africa, the youth will be selected and study in Japan for 2 years to 3 years, including the internship in the Japanese companies, so that they can be a bridge between Japan and Africa.
Okay.
And so far, from Nigeria, 65 Nigerians have benefited from this program.
Okay. Are they still there, or it's completed already?
Yes, it's still the ongoing. Yeah.
Well, I can't allow you go without asking you, what's your impression about the democracy in Nigeria?
We don't do how can I say so much program in the
just your impression, your personal impression.
Impression.
Yeah.
Yes.
3 years in Nigeria is not a joke. So by now you would have had an idea of what the governance process is. So what's your impression about democracy in Nigeria?
Yes, I am not sure how was it in 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but I believe that Nigeria is a democratic country, and because the people can express their the feeling, express their the willingness, and so on the opinion. Yeah, so from that viewpoint, the Nigeria is a democratic country, I believe.
Sometime, someday, your tenure will end in Nigeria as the chief representative of JICA. What impressions will you go with about Nigeria? Given the fact that you came with an impression, now you're here. When you're leaving, what impressions will you have?
Well, I have really the impression of the Nigeria as a very diverse country. And so far yes, of course we have faced some difficulties to do our program and so on, but still I have an impression that the Nigeria has the power of people, and I was really amazed by the people's power. They have a capacity to think by themselves, and they have the capacity to do their job if they will have empowerment to do so. I have heard from one of the Japanese company that they have the factory in Nigeria, and then they gave the Nigerian staff the 10 rules to organize the factory, and then the Nigerian staff themselves could organize the factory in accordance with the 10 rules only.
Sure.
And then that can never happen in any other country. That's what he said.
Okay.
So I'm really amazed by that story, and also I feel the same. The Nigeria have the people's power.
So what's your impression too about gender balance in the public governance process?
Well, yes.
Female, male.
Well, when I visited the rural area of the FCT and also rural area of the Nasarawa state, yes, unfortunately the male and female are not have the not same position in the village.
Okay.
But at the same time, after we implemented some program, including the female, and then little by little, the women, they come to be engaged in the decision of the male. So I think it can be changed.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
For having you on Diplomatic Ties.
Yeah, my
believe
pleasure.
you found it very
Thank you
useful,
very
right?
much. It was, yes.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
That's it on the program. We looked at Japan International Cooperation Agency's intervention in Nigeria. We went through the whole hawk, but ultimately, the good news is that at TICAT 7, which we hold in Japan sometime this month, there's also intervention that will also come to Nigeria, and one of it is the upgrading of the Abuja Master Plan. It was not having you on the program. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Nigeria, a fascinating country. Take a trip through one of the most beautiful places on earth. A journey of discovery. A unique opportunity to get in touch with unspoiled nature. Enjoy your time in a place that offers something for everyone. A land of beautiful contrasts. An experience you won't forget. Fascinating Nigeria.
Hello and welcome to NTA International News. I am Joseph Johnson. The headlines. UK rulings against Nigeria. Federal government says no threat to its assets. National Orientation Agency suggests extensive outreach as panacea for conflict resolution. And Nigerians to pay visa issuance fee for all approved applications for non-immigrants from 29 August. Now all is set for the 7th Tokyo International Conference on African Development, Japan 2019, beginning on Wednesday in the city of Yokohama. State House correspondent Adam Sambo reports on the expectations for Nigeria, as well as reactions on the criticisms in some quarters regarding President Buhari's participation at the conference.
Apart from President Muhammadu Buhari, who was given a befitting welcome here in Yokohama, dozens of other heads of state and government across Africa, international organizations and private companies have also arrived to leverage on the opportunities abound in TICAD 7. Advancing Africa's development through people, technology and innovation is the focus of the conference last held 3 years ago in Nairobi, Kenya. What are the expectations for Nigeria?
Nigeria has benefited significantly over the last 3 years. So the meeting here is to essentially take stock of that and then to plan for the next 3 years. And then also it's an opportunity to have bilateral meetings with significant sectors for the Japanese business and government sectors. For instance, with 200 million people, Nigeria should be one of the hubs, manufacturing hubs for Japan to be assembling cars in.
There should be some certain networking. The issue of the security challenges in Nigeria, especially in Borno State, is as a result of some factors, mainly unemployment. So I think this conference will foster vista of opportunities to us, especially in the areas of waste to wealth, so that we can engage our youths using new technology. Communication is also very important now. We can also create wealth and jobs using the communication facilities. So I think these two things are also very important.
However, for reasons best known to them, some Nigerians back home have been criticizing President Muhammadu Buhari for opting to be in Japan. As they say on certain media platforms, the Nigerian leader ought to have been in France for the G7 conference. For the Foreign Affairs Minister, Geoffrey Onyema, the critics are either being mischievous or ill-informed.
I would say there was no basis for that because, first of all, the G7 is for the 7 biggest economies in the world, and we're not yet there. And the Africans who were there were what are considered as the African Union Troika. And the way the Troika works is the incumbent and present president of the AU, the outgoing one, and the incoming one. So they were invited in that capacity. So there's no reason and no basis why Mr. President should have been there.
There were also certain media images suggesting a protest by members of the indigenous people of Biafra IPOB against President Muhammadu Buhari's visit to Japan. We sought to hear from Nigeria's ambassador to Japan, Muhammad Ganayisa, on the veracity of such images.
Those pictures were not from Japan, as far as we know, as a mission here. And as far as the Japanese police is concerned, those pictures were certainly not pictures of events that took place here in Japan.
TICAD 7 will be declared open by the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe at 3 p.m. Wednesday afternoon local time, while President Muhammadu Buhari is scheduled to address plenary on Thursday. From Japan, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And back home, the federal government has assured Nigerians that the country is not under any kind of threat to lose any of its assets, as has been interpreted by the media. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed made this clarification at a media briefing in Abuja. Anthony Forson has details.
Accompanied by his counterpart from Justice, Abubakar Malami, and that of Finance, Budget and Planning, Zainab Shamsuna Ahmed, along with the Central Bank Governor, Godwin Emefiele, Lai Mohammed narrated the history of a contract between the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources and a foreign firm, Process and Industrial Development, which has led to a UK court authorizing the seizure of a $9.6 billion assets belonging to Nigeria. The minister explained that in 2010, a 20-year gas supply processing agreement was entered into with P&ID, which the company never performed as agreed. The minister further explained that the contract, having suffered a setback, went to the arbitration court, where Nigeria was said to have breached the contract.
After the arbitration award in 2017, Nigeria made several attempts to negotiate the award and resolve the whole issue amicably with P&ID, but to no avail, which eventually led to the enforcement proceedings instituted simultaneously by the company in both the US and the UK.
While Nigeria has recorded some measure of success in the case in US, it became clear that the ruling in favor of P&ID were clearly unreasonable and manifestly excessive and exorbitant.
We want to place on record that the federal government views with serious concerns the underhanded manner in which the contract was negotiated and signed. Despite the recent recognition of the award by a UK court, and contrary to some reports, Nigeria is not, and I repeat, is not about to lose any of its assets to P&ID. There is no imminent threat to Nigeria's assets.
On their part, the Minister of Justice and that of Finance and Budget Planning, as well as the CBN Governor, called on Nigerians to remain resolute as the federal government is determined to protect the citizens' common inheritance.
So when you conceived, sign and execute a contract for the supply of gas products without involving IOCs, NPDC, and NNPC as a party to that agreement, you know very well that there are a lot of questions to answer arising from the execution of that agreement.
For us in the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, we take comfort from the efforts that so far have been put in place by the Attorney General and the Minister of Justice to ensure that this judgment is set aside, because the consequences will be unpleasant for each and every Nigerian. And I hope our brothers and sisters in the press will help fight the cause of our country. We'll be doing that not just for this administration, but for our children and our children's children.
We have gone through our records. We don't have any information in our records to show that this company brought in 1 cent into this country. Time has come when Nigerians must rise against incidents of people alleging to be doing contract in Nigeria without investing a penny, all with an intention to defraud our country. The money that they want to take is the money that is our own commonwealth that belongs to all of us. But it is very sad that you will find some Nigerian collaborators with some foreign interest under bogus intentions trying to defraud this country. If they have proof of their investment, we are calling on them to please come forward and provide us proof of how they invested money in this project.
For now, the federal government has initiated criminal investigation into the matter to ascertain the sincerity behind the initiation of the contract in the first place, as the Federal Minister of Petroleum Resources is not in the right position to go into such contractual agreements. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
And Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Senator Omotayo Alasho-Dora, says in the current technological advancements in the world, it is apt to develop, explore, adopt and deploy technology in the public sector in order to meet today's need and the future. The minister stated this at a 2-day productivity and innovation summit with the theme Leveraging e-Government as a Vehicle for Increasing Productivity and Improving Public Service Delivery. Haman Jabani reports.
The Public Sector Productivity and Innovation Summit, put together by the National Productivity Center and its partners, is for the wide implementation of Nigeria's e-Government Master Plan 2020, and it seeks to highlight the link between e-government and the productivity in Nigeria, how it will improve service delivery. Stakeholders in the public and ICT sectors say these enabling technologies can transform government productivity and creating the market for new skill, knowledge and job in a complementary way, through which government institutions will be able to do more with less energy but delivering greater output with the desirable speed and precision.
If we are not running at the speed we should run, I think this type of workshop that is being organized there today, we highlight all those things, and it will bring the problems we are having to the fore so that government can tackle them headlong.
The knowledge and ideas they garner from here today will invariably tell on the productivity in their various offices.
Without IT, the myriad of problems that are facing the country and the services will not be overcome.
And already we have substantially made way on e-governance in our organization, in my university. So what we are going to get here is an addition.
The two-day summit will also look at the impact of new technologies on productivity, peace and security. Hamman Jabani, NTA News.
Let's talk security matters. Now, the effectiveness with which a fighting force manages its information could undermine how well its personnel fight, how the adversary responds, as well as how the populace on both sides react to the circumstances. In view of this, the Nigerian Air Force is updating its information management strategies in line with global standards to cope with the dynamic media climate. Najatu Tijani reports from the NAV Strategic Perception Workshop.
These information officers from various commands of the Nigerian Air Force are now set to learn new ways of handling the sensitive information they deal with daily. The Chief of the Air Staff, in a message to the officers, says this is a crucial step in reflecting to taxpayers their perception of the Nigerian Air Force as a responsible organization.
Your contribution to the troops that are fighting in the field will not only be for destruction of Boko Haram as they are composed now, which is why I also think it is important for us to have some foundation of those concepts, strategic and perception.
Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola is the Director of Public Relations and Information with years of experience. He understands this power of perception and the danger of mismanaging information in this social media age.
It will be a message to the civil populace that lets them know that your military is with you, with you in this fight to ensure that you are safe and secure.
In addition to exposing the information personnel of the service to meet with global best practices in strategic perception management, it is expected that they will learn new techniques in media and social change. Najatu Tijani, NTA News.
Now, it is an established fact that broadcasting is an instrument for national development, but if not properly utilized, it can also serve as a tool for discord in any setting. This was pointed out at the 2019 annual lecture of the National Broadcasting Commission in Abuja. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday reports.
The 2019 edition of the lecture, which brought together retired and serving veterans as well as media chief executives, is the fifth in the series. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, in a message urged broadcast outfits to always use their platforms in promoting peace and national cohesion.
The President Muhammad Buhari-led administration has great respect for the media and will continue to work with them as partners in progress.
Deliberations centered on contemporary challenges of the Nigerian state and the need for constructive broadcasting.
If it is constructive and if it is productive, the country moves ahead. But if it doesn't, then there is a problem.
The lecture featured a technical session which provided the opportunity for participants to bear their minds on the profession.
Train and retrain. You don't necessarily have to take people to the UK or to outside countries. You can organize it within your own setup.
Fake news is a problem, but for the broadcasters to help, they must have access to information.
Our mandate is to ensure that people walk the straight and narrow path, and that straight and narrow path is the Nigeria Broadcasting Code. We do that on a daily basis. That's why we monitor stations. Where we need to, we sanction. A lot of times we don't even sanction people. We bring the stations and show them their scorecard.
The lecture coincides with the 27th anniversary of the Commission. Adebola Brookslyn Sunday, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja. Stay tuned for more after these messages.
Hey, you! And are you how they talk to? I sabi you now. It's in your mind, Abi. The person with them go help us. Baba Toros and Shangalo. Oga Lekova, Mr. Sabi. And you know if you carry last for this one.
A spear into the top corner.
We Sabi say Peking will crawl before in waka. So don't look, no help anybody. No darling, no. So go for it. Go for football. Go for all Serie A and La Liga matches live. Go for GoTV Max.
NTA International News. Africa as it is.
President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the immediate termination of appointment of Reverend Toll Uja as the Executive Secretary, Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission, NCPC. A statement signed by the Director of Information in the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Willie Bassi, indicates that this is in line with the provision of Section 4, Subsection 3 of the Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission Act. Reverend Uja has therefore been directed to hand over to the Director of Administration in the Commission, Mrs. Esther Gwake, who is to oversee the office pending the appointment of a substantive Executive Secretary. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has directed the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation to work out an appropriate framework for the operation of offshore account maintained by the Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission and all other federal government agencies in order to streamline their operations. Director General National Orientation Agency Garba Abari says extensive outreach is key to achieving peace. This came at a meeting of key players organized to brainstorm on ways to ensure a broader look on conflict resolution and management in Nigeria. Kunle Adeye has more.
National Orientation Agency is engaging these key players who have great tasks ahead in managing and resolving conflicts in some parts of the country and ultimately prevent such in the future. From one resource person to the other, good leadership at all levels, they say, is key. Brigadier General Samuel Ogwanya feels managing and resolving conflicts in the present day need peer review mechanism.
If this type of course is regularly conducted, many people will be aware of what is happening and they will know what to do.
Ibrahim Buba, a media practitioner, is of the opinion that members of the Fourth Estate of the realm play critical roles during crisis.
I believe this is a strong measure put in place by the government in order to address the issue of conflict and conflict crisis in our dear country, Nigeria.
We have worked severally and we continue to work on many fronts on addressing issues of national concern, especially at moments like this, when our country is passing through so many nation-building challenges.
The workshop also focused on developing human capital to guarantee a safe society. In Abuja, Kunle Adeye, NTA News.
25 of the 30 states predicted by the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency to witness high risk of floods have already been ravaged by the disaster, with many casualties. Red Cross Society of Nigeria disclosed this while interacting with journalists on the 2019 floods response plans. Ilyasu Ali Yakubu reports.
206 persons in 108 communities have been affected, which resulted in the death of more than 70 people in the affected states, while 3 persons are still missing in the ravaging floods that has continued to displace communities across the country. A rescue mission had commenced in earnest as the State Emergency and NEMA, including other partners, are working around the clock to save lives and property in the affected areas. This interaction with the Nigerian Red Cross Society and the journalists is geared towards identifying better ways of mitigating the floods across the country. The Red Cross Society says even though the 2018 flood response by the society was a huge success, but due to the dynamics of the disaster, the 2019 flood response may take a new approach.
But currently our appeal, our proposal, we are looking for funds from our fellow Nigerians, from government, from public organization. Well, effort to stem the tide of calamities in country, should definitely be supported by every person,
So I think the government have to enact certain laws
that will stop people from settling in some of these flood-prone areas deliberately.
The Nigerian Red Cross Society volunteers have been actively involved in assisting affected communities through search and rescue, first aid, evacuation and provision of psychosocial support services. In Abuja, Ilyasu Aliyakubu, NTA News.
Well, let's get you some news from the financial sector now with Rachel Shaibu.
Hello and welcome to Business News. Nigeria and the People's Republic of China have signed a multi-billion naira trade agreement on hibiscus production. Under the agreement, the Chinese government will establish processing factories that will clean and process export of hibiscus. Nigeria in 2018 exported hibiscus to Argentina and Brazil to the tune of 210 million naira.
We just signed an agreement with the Chinese government for sorghum, and they're going to establish about 5 sorghum plantations for the country. You know, we're beginning to move from the era of tree-crop plantations to cereal plantations, and that is good for the country.
In the meantime, the global export of agricultural produce is expected to hit $32.1 billion in the next 1 year, with an annual growth of 10.8%. This is coming as the African Development Bank is to further push agribusiness within Africa through the establishment of processing zones, taking advantage of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Away from commodities now, the Central Bank of Nigeria and other lending institutions have agreed to seize loan defaulters' monies domiciled in other banks. The Central Bank of Nigeria in a statement says the deposits in the customers' other bank accounts would be used to service the unpaid loans. Thanks for your time. I am Rachel Shaibu.
President Muhammadu Buhari has felicitated with legal luminary, educationist and philanthropist Are Afe Babalola San on his recognition by the General Assembly of the African Union AU with an award, African Role Model AU Agenda 2063 Ambassadorial Award. A statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President, Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, said the President rejoiced with the renowned philanthropist on the global recognition for his efforts to uplift many people out of poverty through employment, scholarship, training and health. President Buhari appreciates the General Assembly of the African Union for the thoughtfulness, assuring the leaders that Are Babalola will certainly be more motivated to support the AU Agenda 2063 of providing a better livelihood for Africans. Nigerian citizens will be required to pay a visa issuance fee or reciprocity fee for all approved applications for non-immigrant visas in B, F, H1B, I, L and R visa classifications effective worldwide on 29 August. The reciprocity fee will be charged in addition to the non-immigrant visa application fee, also known as the MRV fee, which all applicants pay at the time of application. A statement from the U.S. Embassy said Nigerian citizens whose applications for a non-immigrant visa are denied will not be charged the new reciprocity fee. Both reciprocity and MRV fees are non-refundable, and the amounts vary based on visa classification. U.S. law requires U.S. visa fees and validity periods to be based on the treatment afforded to U.S. citizens by foreign governments insofar possible. Visa issuance fees are implemented under the principle of reciprocity when a foreign government imposes additional visa fees on U.S. citizens. The United States will impose reciprocal fees on citizens of that country for similar types of visas. Nationals of a number of countries worldwide are currently required to pay this type of fee after their non-immigrant visa application is approved. For trending stories now from other parts of the globe, here is Justin Bemui.
There are reports from Kenya that the hashtag Wajir census fraud is trending because police have arrested 2 chiefs in the northeastern region for inflating figures during the ongoing national census. Regional Administrator Lloyford Kibara says they allowed enumerators to count people twice in Wajir County. Kenya's Daily Nation newspaper says more chiefs in the county and in the neighboring Mandera County are being sought for the same offense. In the meantime, the leader of the Rwandan community in Mozambique has been shot dead in the capital, Maputo. Officials say Luis Baziga was in his car after leaving his home in Matola, a southern suburb of the city, when he was targeted by gunmen who intercepted his car. Mr. Baziga was a known supporter of the Rwandan government of President Paul Kagame and was a successful businessman running shops and a pharmacy in Maputo. And away from Africa, the Brazilian government has said it will reject an offer of aid from G7 countries to help tackle fires in the Amazon rainforest. French President Emmanuel Macron, who hosted the recently concluded G7 summit, said $22 million would be released. But Brazilian ministers say the money is not needed and accuse foreign powers of wanting control of the Amazon.
Bemoyi reporting there. And that does it on the news on NTA International at this time. Thanks for watching. I'm Joseph Johnson. See you soon.
Have you been thinking about coming to Nigeria? Then what are you waiting for? Come share in our wealth of vast resources. Come discover treasure. Come to where there's lots of business opportunities.